Hi, Coach Jim here. Today I just want to take a few minutes and talk about the Njekt and its different parts and how to clean it and a couple things about how to maintain it. First of all, we'll just start at the top. This is the tank. It's removable. I'll show you that in a second. It's got a little air release valve because as you apply product, you're going to need to let air into the top. Just make sure that when you put this into its receptacle down here, that you aim it on this side of the injector because you're going to stand back here. Otherwise, if you put it on this other side, and trust me, this has happened to me, as you move around and you pull it in and push it out and all this other stuff, it's going to spit on you. You want it over on this side so if it does happen to spit, it doesn't spit on your clothing. At least it'll spit over here. It might get on the Njekt itself, but that can be cleaned off. So make sure you orient this so that it's on the front. As we move down, we have the handles. These can actually come out if they get damaged. They can unscrew, but they also, you can screw them in nice and tight so they're solid. They also adjust by these little cam locks right here. And they can go up and down or around, however you need them to go, based upon how tall you are or how comfortable you are with the handles in whatever position. You can also adjust the tightness for this by opening this up and turning this little screw or nut in on the screw, which then when you lock it down will grab it even tighter so it won't move while you're using it. The handles then allow you to pull the Njekt tube out of the bottom tube here, and if you flip it around in the back, you'll see there's a little lock down here. This little lock needs to be in when you're transporting it. Then you pull it out, turn it 90 degrees like that, and that allows you then to lock it open. Now this can be pulled up and down so that you can draw material in. Then when you push it down, it pushes the material into the soil. You have a counter, so it tells you how many times you've injected into the soil. You can use this little turn knob here to zero it every time you go to the next plant. You have a very nice foot pad down here to hold it, so you can hold it into the soil as you move it around. Going back, oh, that's one more thing back here, is this little knob right here. You want to press that in. When you press that in, that allows the tank to come off, so that you can then use what's called your cleaning tank with fresh water. You can put that in there, and now you can clean out the tool with fresh water. You don't necessarily have to clean this tank out. You can leave chemical in here, or if it's empty, you don't necessarily even have to wash it out. You can just leave it as is and use this as your cleaning tank. Or you can clean this out and then inject the rinsate into the soil. We'll talk about cleaning here in a minute. There's instructions on the front of the cleaning tank as to exactly what you should do. Then if you flip back around this side, you notice this is a space to hold the needle that goes in the bottom of the injector, and this is the dosing knob. You will loosen this or tighten it and put it anywhere you want to. Let's say you wanted to put in 4 ounces. You would set it on 4 ounces and tighten it up. And now when you pull up on the handles, it puts 4 ounces of mix inside the injector. Before you do anything and start to put anything in the ground, you definitely want to put your needle into the bottom. And that screws in. It doesn't need to be super tight, usually just hand tight. But if it does have a tendency, some of them have a tendency to get a little bit loose after a while. It does have a very nice hex head machined into it, which you can very gently then put a wrench on it and tighten it up gently. It doesn't need to be super tight. Okay, and then the material will then flow out as you push down on the handles and come out these little holes right here. Okay, that's all the different pieces and parts. This is just a plug to protect the receptacle here if you were to transport it without either one of those two tanks in place. Now as far as cleaning goes, I already mentioned that one of the best ways to clean this thing is to remove this tank and put on the cleaning tank. Well, you can also just put water in this if it's empty, and that cleans the whole system. Either way, what you want to do is you want to fill this up about halfway, open this up to at least 5 ounces. I like to open it all the way up to 10 ounces. That way I get a full cleaning of the ram that's on the inside. So then you pull this all the way up as far as it'll go. Make sure that this is going into the soil. You've actually placed this in the soil, jam it down in the ground, and then you push down on the handles such that it empties what's inside the ram tube. And you do that 3 times minimum. I do it 3 or 4 at least. And that way it cleans the material out that happens to be inside there, so that when you go to store it, there's nothing of a chemical nature left on the O-rings or anything inside the tool here, so that when you go to use it next time, you can retract it, you can push it in, pull it out, push it in, do all that stuff you need to do to get it to work right. Otherwise it won't work right. Now every now and then you'll get something that'll clog these little jets down at the bottom of the tube. I don't know if you can see that, but they're right there. Well, the best thing to do is to take a small wire, and you can put a small wire right through there, and it cleans both jets at the same time going this way, and put a small wire through here so it cleans both jets on that side. And you can clean that out, and then you can put water in there and flush it out real good, and that'll clean it up. Usually after every job, I've got my rubber gloves on, I'll take my hand and I'll wipe off any dirt or mulch or anything that accumulates right around here. That way when I put it in the ground I get a nice seal, and it won't regurgitate back out of the soil as well as much. So, and that helps keep this whole thing clean. This part can get really dirty, and you need to, after every job, you need to make sure you clean this part off, just wipe it off. And I try to do it on site so that I put it right back in the planting bed where it came from. So, or a tree ring or whatever it is. As far as maintenance goes, best thing to do is keep it clean. That way it will last. You can hose all these parts off at the end of the day if you needed to maintain it. A couple other things is you want to make sure that you take some petroleum jelly and put it right around these little O-rings every now and then. That keeps them from getting scarred up, which keep it from leaking. And not only on this tank, but also on this tank. That keeps everything nice and lubricated and movable. You can also take this whole tank off and put some WD-40, squirt it down in here. You can retract this all the way up, squirt some WD-40 in there, push it out, that pushes it through, and you can do that a couple of times, and that lubricates everything on the inside and keeps it from sticking. That's particularly useful if it's not going to be used for a long time, or if you're storing it over the winter. Preferably you want to store this someplace where it doesn't get below freezing. Even though you evacuate it as much as you can, there still might be some water in there. I'd be my recommendation to store it inside a building somewhere where it stays above freezing all the time. Other than that, it's relatively maintenance free, it's easy to clean, and it works like a charm. So until next time, see ya.